Let me hear a little bit of energy, a little bit of aliveness. Not hearing you. Nope. 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 Can we see some chum-chums? Did you make the connections you promised that you would before lunch? How many of us made 2 new friends? How many of us made 3 new friends? Wow, that's a lot. 5? Guys, don't just raise your hand now, please. Honestly, how many of you made 10 new friends? I know, because you guys are so amazing at connecting, so I thought I'll try you. So here we are in the post-lunch conversation talking about an issue that needs very serious intervention and confrontation. We're talking about why we have such few women leaders on the top. And having this conversation, we have an amazing line of speakers lined up for you, because they are helping us analyze this perspective from the top to bottom and the bottom to the top. So it is my absolute pleasure to invite Manorama Bakshi onto the stage. Manorama, are you here with us? You are, I know, so you'll be joining us in a few moments. If I could invite Sam Cook to take the main stage. The director, KMBA, creative agency coming all the way from USA, but from the northwest of Australia, having already offered a whole legacy in uplifting Aboriginal art and bringing it to the world. It's an honor to have you with us, Sam. Welcome. Yes, please have a seat. Vidhi Puri, Kriti Barucha. We're lunching, I see. Anya Katpalia, welcoming this lovely young lady. We have 2 beautiful young ladies in the house. And it's my pleasure to welcome Anya, the founder of hersuccessbits.com. We can't wait to hear your aspiring story. Have a seat, Anya. It's a pleasure. Do we have the presence of Nitibha Kaur? I know you have arrived. Maybe I'll call your name in a few minutes again. Karuna Ahuja. Welcoming Karuna. This lady who dons many a hats is a global human resource leader, a career coach, a D&I strategist, an author. Oh my God, I'm running out of breath. Social activist. Thank you for being with us. Inviting Pratibha Mahindru. Bring your cup of coffee and join us. It's coffee with Harbeen. Welcoming Pratibha, the CEO of Refract Consulting Private Limited. It's a pleasure to have you join us in this post-lunch conversation. Like we promised you, we have a very potent little package coming all the way from Mumbai. There she is! There she is! Please put your hands together in welcoming the lighthouse of tomorrow. This beautiful lady is Anya Joshi. Adya, that's what I said? Yeah, Adya Joshi, coming from Mumbai, despite it all. Welcome. Welcome. Have a seat. As the keynote speaker for this session, it is my absolute honor and privilege to invite our very special lady that it's an absolute privilege to have amongst us this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Anahita Goenka. Please put your hands together for the president of the Frontier Ad Agency, Lolintas. Anahita, if I could also please invite you to stay here with me while I introduce you, and then I pass it over to you. A passionate believer in the power of communication, working to strive and make the brands for the greater good of humanity. She is the brains behind some of the iconic work from the agency, including Khan Khajura Tesan, bringing Bihar out of darkness to connectivity, the Swachh Bharat initiative, and many more to her credit. She has won laurels across international platforms, including the Cannes. It's an absolute honor to have Anahita amongst us. Anahita, can I request you to please share your inspiring journey? Over to you. 5 minutes. You have more than that.
Hi, everybody. So, actually, it doesn't matter what you win or don't win, I must tell you that. Because I truly believe, and it's an honor, firstly, to be here. It's an honor to be called. It's an honor to sit with so many women who've done fabulous stuff and such youth. And the only thing I do want to tell everybody that remember, it's not a race, it's a journey. Wow. And very often as women, because we've had, I think, centuries of conditioning, especially if you're an Indian woman, you've had centuries of conditioning which tells you have to fight. Come closer? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. It always gets seen as a race. I just want everybody, however young, however, it really doesn't matter, to see it as a journey. Because when you see it as a journey, it's the journey that matters to you. It's not the race you're running versus somebody. It's not what you're wanting to do. And yes, we should all champion and sit in a room and do what we need to do, because that's how it'll get done. But remember, it's a long journey. And sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's easy, I'm sure. But if we look at it as a journey, we'll actually be better off. The other myth I want to bust, and I really feel this way. As part of my work, I actually meet women of, she's right, I've worked in Bihar, I work with the sanitation ministry in Delhi on a lot of toilet building. I talk more of toilets than anybody else does, I think. And therefore, I have seen women from every little corner of India. And I truly believe leaders are not what sit in this room. Leaders are what are there in every household in India. Every woman in every household. I have not seen more leadership than I've seen in homes which are the size of these 3 chairs. And women who really strive to add 10 rupees more to their household income and stitch things at night and put their girls through school. So to me, every household that has a striving woman is a woman leader. And if we just change our perception of what women leaders are, and I never want to talk about what we've achieved, but I do want to say that if we hope to have more women leaders, it all starts right there in that household with that mother who's doing something at 11 in the night so that her daughter can go next morning to school. And that's what the daughter sees as culture and conditioning and society. And that daughter, when she does whatever she wants to do, is going to remember that mother and say, you know, I can do it. And we all are a part of life where it's easy. We have an ecosystem surrounding us, whether it's a job, whether it's entrepreneurship, it's all conducive. But we live in a country where for 80% of India, it's not conducive. They're not allowed out. They are not allowed to do things. There is a legacy of social conditioning. So I truly believe every little thing we can do to get that 80% of women out and be leaders in their own way, we'll actually have done a lot. And there's a very interesting statistic. We have the 6th largest female population, but we are 106 on the gender equality index across the world. It's so disparate. It's so disparate. So for every woman who achieves, there are 100 not achieving for some reason, not because she doesn't want to, but because she can't. And every little thing we can do, I was just in a session with ma'am who's been doing sanitation for 30 years in this country. And I looked at her in awe at her tenacity to continue doing it, to just simply get women to go to a toilet and build toilets for women and ensure that there's health in a woman's life. If he can touch in any way, I do it in my way because I'm a communicator, I tell stories. So every opportunity I get on a brand, I sell a story versus a product. That's all I do. It's as simple as that. I don't do rocket science. But if I get the opportunity, I will. Let's use the opportunity because that's where grassroots lies. And I don't know how, Harleen, but if we can celebrate every one of those little women leaders who sit in those homes, but don't have access to the joy you allow us to feel. If we can find a way to do that, that would be absolutely, great. That's all I have to say. So to every leader who's not in this room, have I upset your room?
Thank you so much, Anahita, for such an honest sharing, straight from your heart. Because a few minutes ago, she was asking, she's like, PPT, I just go. We're like, yeah, just go. And that's how we love it. Just truth as is, journeys as is. And it's not a race, it's a journey. That's a keeper. Thank you. On that note, if I could invite Sam Cook to share her global journey in the world of arts and courage.
Sorry, just a bit taller than most people in the room right now. I'd just like to acknowledge the ancestors that brought us all together, because I think if we collectively combine the sum of who we are and how many generations we go back, all of that has gotten us into the room here today to have this important conversation. I'd also like to thank the organisers and a lot of young faces I see in here, because you'll be the custodians of this story and the keeper of the oral history of how we all came together and made change as individuals and as a collective sum of women around the world. So my name's Sam Cook, and I'm from the Nyikina Nation, which is an Aboriginal community in the northwest of Western Australia. I also acknowledge my Irish heritage from County Waterford. And I have an Indian ancestor who is buried up in the Aboriginal community where my family are from. His legacy, unfortunately, was lost in the translation of story being anglified. So I'm a Nyikina, but I'm also the daughter of an Aboriginal activist and the daughter of a federal politician. So two very different worlds combined. And I think for me that creates a really interesting dichotomy within myself as someone who grew up seeing and being exposed to and being part of abject poverty of the Aboriginal communities of Australia, and then the affluence of a parent whose rise in celebrity and national and international profile meant that his world and my mother as the divorcee, her world was vastly different. So I lived between the two, but predominantly lived in my Aboriginal community. And why this is important is because as an Aboriginal young woman growing up, my community, just to give context, is 28 family groups in 4 miles out of town of a town's population of about 1,000. So we're in country that isn't heavily populated, it's big sky country, so a lot of space and a lot of quiet and silence. And you learn to live in silence, and you learn to live in a way in which you read the land and the world a lot differently. Fast forward to moving to Los Angeles, where the population of California is more than the population of the total of Australia. So again, you know, living between a range of different worlds and experiences. So what I've done, I became a young parent. I have a 25-year-old and a 23-year-old. I became a young single divorced parent, and I became a young single divorced parent of a domestic abuse situation. And then I became a young CEO. So at the age of 28, I took over an Aboriginal theatre company, and I led that company into international success, and we grew an idea into a movement of people, and I was able to employ over 100 Aboriginal artists around the country and tour the world with that, including Mumbai International Arts Festival. I was also enabled to kind of scale up in the arts industry, and I became very prolific in the arts and entertainment industry. I ran festivals, tour manage, do a whole lot of things. Similarly, by accident and some of it by circumstance, ended up running 5 businesses at once. And that led me to a moment in time in Australia where the political climate changed, not in the best way, in that there was a movement to remove Aboriginal people from traditional country. So I led a revolution, and I galvanised in 5 months with no budget 20 million people around the world to address this. And I did it because culture matters and we can't leave people behind. From that, though, I saw that the movement and the potential was in elevating communities and not just protesting for the sake of protesting. So I was fortunate enough to speak in Chicago, and I partnered with an African-American nanoscientist. And from that, we've been able to create our first tech startup called Culture. And what Culture does is it takes biomass and it translates everything into the common good of humanity with an economic base from one side of things, but then it creates tangible and intangible opportunities for products to go to market from some of the smallest communities, from some of the most finite community endeavours. We've been able to find a market for that. And I was fortunate enough to receive the best tech startup in Hong Kong 2 weeks ago, so that's kind of why I'm here. So in my time and my travels, there's been some really interesting conversations, and I want to kind of tie that into the leadership aspect. So last year I delivered 2 festivals around healing in Australia, and they were back-to-back, which I recommend don't do. But one of them, the men stood forward and they said, this is grandmother time. This is the time for women to take the front and the men to step back. And that was really powerful. And then at the second event, the men apologised to the women for the abuse and for not empowering women in the way in which they should have. And that was powerful. And then nothing happened. So I guess the question that I wanted to put to the floor really is, where do men go when they make this decision to remove themselves from leading and being in that point of circumstance where they are wanting women to move forward, but they're not sure how? And how do we have that conversation together? I think from my insight is that it's a conversation we must have, because where do we want them to go? We don't want to diminish our men, we don't want to diminish our sons, our uncles, our grandparents, our partners. We want to elevate everyone together and leave no one behind. The other observation has been in working in global spaces is that a lot of times in the female feminism movements is that people of colour or people who are othered tend to keep in a position of a status quo, and in its most kind of crude way is we're always felt to feel like we're a little bit of the help. So that's another conversation I think that needs to be had. Where do we want to see ourselves moving forward as the front of women for the feminism movement so that we're all standing together in unity? Where do we want women to go? The other big observation, which is something I've lived in, has been called crabs in the bucket. And what this means is that when an Aboriginal woman in our community had been elevated, they'd take the ladder up with them as well. And so all of a sudden, as a young gung-ho Nyikina coming to an urban city, going, let's get some stuff done, let's do things, you're met with a lot of gatekeeping. And so the question there is, where do we want our elder women to go? The sort of final point before I put a bit of a call to action up is that we're actually in some changing times. A lot of the conversation in the United States has been around binaries. A lot of people are now choosing their own pronouns so that maybe they're not known necessarily as a her, maybe it's a they or a them. And so this conversation is real, and it's really important as we move forward as women in a space of fluctuating binary, is where do they want to go? Where do we want to go? Where does she want to go? Where does he want to go? And so my kind of call to action here is that, yes, we're in a world at the moment of global unrest, but for things to change, unrest is inevitable, I feel. And that what this does create, instead of barriers, is opportunity. We can see how things change. We can see that the revolution of time and the change of the power of the narratives as women change. And so this opportunity, I feel, is a call to action. And so the action for the women and for the men in this room is to stand in your power. Don't underestimate it. Bring forward your truth. If you do want to elevate women, then let's have the conversation about how we go about this for humanity's sake, really. Bring the sisters forward so that it's not just about age differences, it's about women coming together. The youngest person in the room to the eldest person in the room has value. We should never discredit that. But how we move each other through our generational shifts into our ancestry becomes equally important. Leave no one behind. This is something that's so important in economic spaces because we can't forget the people on the ground at the root who are often the most underserved, who are often the most powerful in terms of the traditional knowledge and the cultural value that they bring back to communities. And then understand that in terms of top leaders and leaders of women in this room and women worldwide, we're already here. It's about that self-awareness and knowing that you may be a young leader, you may not know what your leadership is just yet, but you're actually leaders. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I knew that your story was one of courage. I didn't know how deep and how profound. So thank you for taking us on that journey with you. You know the word courage? It comes from the Latin word cor, which means heart. So the concept was that the heart is the center of all emotions, and that's you. Thank you for leading with your heart. To add to the glamour quotient this afternoon, it's my privilege to invite on stage this TV actress turned social media influencer. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Nithiba Kaul. It's a pleasure. Please. Take a seat. I'd also like to invite Bindu Menon. Bindu, where are you? There you are. Please put your hands together in welcoming the lovely lady in the beautiful red sari. Yes, there we go. Bindu is the CEO of Point Blank Advertising Private Limited. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Hearing from the voice of our future, may I invite to share her journey, the lovely Anya Katpalia.
Good afternoon. I'm Anya Katpalia, 15 years old, in grade 10, and founder of the hersuccessbits.com website. An initiative to write, speak, inspire, and empower. I'm grateful to Dr. Harbeen Arora for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Perhaps my lens would be a bit different, as I will be looking at the need of women empowerment from my lens of being a high school student in a public school in New Delhi. I will be discussing the need of awareness of gender stereotyping, as well as the need for initiatives in the respective domains. I would like to begin an example. The other day I was in school and my maths period was going on when my teacher asked us if there was anyone interested in a maths Olympiad coming up. My hand shot up and so did of many. Unfortunately, only 2 students could be selected. I was sure that I would be selected as I had scored the highest in class. But it seemed like that was not enough, you see. You had to be a boy to be selected for a maths Olympiad. These biases are prevalent even in elite schools today, which led me to wonder about how the less urban and rural areas would be on the gender biases and presuppositions. Why does the male student in my class still get recognition for scoring the same marks as I did in STEM subjects? Why do I see the girls in my class being competitive? Not for acing tests, but rather in vying for the attentions of the opposite sex. Why do I see only boys playing basketball in parks when girls are sitting and cheering for them? Why do I hear women say thank you to their husbands when all they did was take care of their own child? We need and urgently require feminism in the 21st century. Thank you so much. But the general perception among the youth is that feminists need to be avoided as they are weird and hate men. These perceptions are being circulated via digital technologies and social networking. The idea of globalization is a reality in the spaces that teenagers occupy. Sitting in the 4 walls of the room, they are deeply and obsessively connected to the Western models and icons. Instagram feeds leave the younger generation wanting more and more. This cycle of consumption and distribution has become increasingly impregnable. More Instagram feeds of the celebrity lead to a hunger for more, and the cycle continues. There has to be a rethinking on how we use the digital platform. It does not have to be the mouthpiece of dominant biases. Digitalization, in my opinion, is a great enabler. It can provide a platform to launch many women movements and to change the general perception of women. But for it to be effective, it has to move away from commercial players and groups. For instance, Times Magazine includes the word feminists in the list of words to be banned in 2015, for which they had to apologize later. Coming back to India, there has been a massive program launched by the government, Digital India, aimed towards digitalization and improving digital literacy. The project held at Helsinki says that much of the discussions regarding Digital India had digital economy, data privacy, and infrastructure as its main issues. Minimum importance was given to the empowerment aspect of the program. Also, the aspect of gender parity was absent. As per UNICEF's The State of the World's Children 2017, Children in Digital World, report only 29% of all the internet users in India are females. We must envisage a more egalitarian and ethical usage of the digital space that helps in the empowerment of the oppressed, rather than making the digital simply a mirror for the latest capitalist developments. The very same platform can be used in ways that we think are constructive. This would enable another important voice to be heard, a voice that had been lost within the 4 walls of the house. It is with this impulse that I started my own website, hersuccessbits.com. Hersuccessbits.com is a website which aims to inspire women all around the world and give them strength to shatter glass ceilings and progress towards a more independent lifestyle. It enables successful women to upload their journeys of life and motivate other women to rise and be economically productive. We live in a capitalist society. It is a rather oppressive one for women, as it reinforces the idea of profit only to the people who are already at the top tiers of lifestyle, and the gap between the rich and the poor widens. Because the number of women which are at these top tiers is relatively lesser, the impulse behind Her Success Bits is towards building a society in which these few successful women can include other women to be a part of their business, therefore empowering and inspiring many. The thesis also mentioned the ICT 4D program for developing countries, which is Information and Communication Technologies for Development. India is ranked 125th out of 159 countries in the United Nations Development Programme's Gender Inequality Index. The major themes for implementing the ICTs in developing countries are, number one, understanding social context. Number two, the importance of indigenous development. So the technology is not just directly taken from the West and imposed on the people. Participatory and cooperative design of ICTs that takes into account the inputs of communities and local people. And evidently, India has not promoted ICT 4D in its full sense. Firstly, it has not kept into account the social context. Out of the various examples that I put forward, none of them tackles the issue of gender parity, which is a major concern. Secondly, as China has its own apps instead of those developed in the West to promote indigenous development, India fails to do so. Her Success Bits has understood the need for making women in India digitally literate. Therefore, it is very relevant to the social context of our country. My website comprises of the opinions of the women in local communities, which urge other women to step up and improve their livelihoods. In conclusion, rather than focusing on the economic income of the country, if we focus on the social aspect, it will lead to the development of a country at a much faster pace. And as a result, leading us to economic benefit as a byproduct. In all the measures and initiatives that I talked about, the main goal was clear, but how to proceed about it was left to the citizens of the country. If we start focusing on how to make the women, which are a major subset of our population, more empowered and digitally literate, it shall lead to a more developed and advanced country. In the 21st century, we need more websites like hersuccessbits.com, which aim at making women empowered and fulfills all the requirements of the ICT 4D program in its true senses. Thank you so much.
Anya, eloquent, impassioned, fearless, and 15. Oh my God. Wow. If I could invite, on that fearless note, Karuna Ahuja to please speak with us, a lady of many talents and across disciplines. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm left honestly speechless after listening to such lovely ladies. So I'll be spontaneous rather than thinking of what I should be talking initially. I thought, let me come here and experience and then talk from my heart. So to introduce myself, I have been in the HR domain for many, many years, 15 years, 1.5 decades. And 1.5 years back is when I decided to move on and start my own consulting. In that entire process, so to say, there are a lot of words tagged with me, which is being an HR leader or being a D&I expert and a coach. So there are a lot of things I'm doing, but I must say that what I feel is that being a woman at heart makes me feel much more empowered when I come to such kind of sessions and I listen to such women and hear such people. It is amazingly a pleasure and such an inspiration for me always. And what we do in our work, we majorly help women get back to work. We also do a lot of other work in the HR consulting domain. So I have been in organizations where human resources sometimes were just the resources. Sometimes they were humans, and there was a mix of such organizations I worked with. Because of my personal experience, when I decided to move on, one of the decisions that I made was that I will work with a lot of women restarters, because that is a great talent that I could contribute to and support them to get back to work. There were a lot of such women who reached out to us, and it has been a success for me to set up my organization in such a way. Telling you about myself, a little bit about my story. I come from a background where I've been brought up in the northern parts of the country, and there were times when there were situations or discussions happening around education of girl child. There were situations where I was hearing a lot of things related to, why would you want the parents be asked that why should she be educated so much? There will be situations in future. But I think I decided to take my decisions, whether it was to do with education or with other career-related decisions, which helped me become a person today that I am. When we talk about different things that I do, one of the areas that we also work in is mindfulness. We support people to understand that when we are mindful, we are more inclusive in our approach. And a lot of concepts that we talk about, but here I would talk about that there is a 4C concept that I basically talk about, which mentions how women could use that to build up their self-esteem. So one of them, the 4C concept that I talk about is, if you want to build up your self-esteem, you first of all need to have clarity on what do you want in life. So that's the first C. The second C that we talk about is having courage. So we were talking about courage and the word coming from heart, coming from that word. Courage is something where you can stand up, where women can stand up to their own decisions that they want to make and showcase that. The third C is commitment. When we talk about commitment, there are times when we know that we might get wavered from our goals. How we can get back, we can put our goals together and make sure that we're committed to it. And the fourth C is connections. Sometimes we miss on those connections because of our family or other reasons, but that is very important, and such forums help us out a lot in bringing all these sisters together and making that kind of connections and supporting each other. So when we're talking about women supporting each other, how do we do that? It's not just about being here and talking about it, but also coming together and helping each other in certain ways where there are support provided to each other in a way where, whether it is economic, social, or helping each other to build up their self-esteem, all of these conversations that we do will help us create that inspiration, and also standing up for each other whenever there are situations to give them some work. For example, the way we do right now, we support them in getting back to work in multiple ways, but we also are trying to help them build up their self-esteem. So those are some stories we can talk about, and I talk about, but honestly, those set of people that I see here, a lot of great experiences that all of you have. I am only one of those, and I'm happy to support in whatever way I can with all the expertise that I have in my HR field. So that's what I could talk about myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karuna, for sharing those 3 C's. 4 C's? Yes. Wait, which one did I miss? I have compassion, connections. Wait. What are the, give us a C. Courage. Give us your own C. Clarity. That's beautiful. Connections is Karuna's. Give us your C. Yes. That's your C, isn't it? That's your C. Beautiful. Yeah, I had compassion too. Can we have another C? Confidence. Beautiful. You touched upon self-confidence. Community, congeniality. Beautiful. Character. Awesome. We switched to A. Awesome. Thank you so much. We have a new dictionary that's all C's. Cooking. Cookies. We are the cookies and the cream. Speaking of congeniality, if I could invite this very special lady who's with us, TV star turned travel and beauty influencer, I invite Nithiba Kaul to share her journey with us.
Thank you so much, everyone. I would just request my manager to give me my script, if she may. Thank you. completely forgot to get it printed, and that's what I was doing on stage, coordinating. But firstly, thank you so much, Prakriti. Firstly, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. Dr. Harbeen, thank you for having all of us and bringing all of us together through this amazing platform called Women Economic Forum. Well, what I have to talk about here is slightly different from what everyone has been talking about. I think we all are clear on the fact that we as women have to come together and, you know, create this sense of community where we uplift each other through sharing our journeys, as we heard so many already. And what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be sharing my own journey, because I'm, you know, standing here with such accomplished, established women. I honestly feel like the least I can do is talk about my life and how, you know, that has sort of brought me to this point in life where I can stand on this stage and talk to you all. So I would like to call this talk, How Opportunities Are Your Ladder to Success. And I believe as women, what we need to remember and what we might forget sometimes leading the lives that we do is that grabbing opportunities at the right time can legit be the definition of success. It can transform your life. Sorry, was there something? Okay, all right, sorry. How grabbing opportunities can transform your life and completely 360 degrees, you know, change it. So when I was in school, I scored 91% in my 12th boards, and that, according to Delhi standards, is not enough to get you into the best college, right? So despite having scored so well, I was a very nervous kid, and I decided that, you know, that my life had gone for a toss, and I couldn't now make it to the dream college that I wanted to. But a friend called me up and told me about this business college called Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. It's one of the best business studies colleges in India, and said that there's an entrance exam that you have to sort of give to clear that. And you just need like maybe 2 weeks of preparation to do that. So being someone who's completely depressed because my best friends had scored 95, 96% and were in league to get into the best college of the country, in that mental state, I had to you know, decide to actually study further and take out 2 weeks of time while all my other friends were enjoying their amazing scores and prepare for the best college apparently, which I had no idea about. But I did, because I felt like that was the opportunity that could transform the way my life is going. And I appeared for that entrance exam and I cleared it, and I was one of the top 50 ranks in that college. And I had the most amazing 3 years that I spent in that university, because it taught me how grabbing opportunities at the right time is so important. So there were so many different, you know, like every year in college, we used to do something different. So I organized a TED Talk with underprivileged kids as speakers, which was never heard of. And I could have always chosen to stick with studies and not do all these extracurriculars that shaped me into who I am today. But I decided to take the path that was less known of. And I used to dance, I used to sing, take part in the music society of the college. I used to also do a lot of social work, and I also had, you know, equal time allotted for my education. And that is why at the end of the 3rd year of college, I was able to apply to and make it to one of the best companies in the world, which is Google India. So Google was my first and only job. Thank you. I made it after 3 years of education in college. I made it as an associate account strategist in one of the best companies of the world. That was my first and only job, and I really don't know how I made it, but I believe that because of all the experiences that I had managed to gather over those 3 years of college and over school, because of not saying no to the opportunities that came in front of me, you know, despite knowing that I'm a woman, and, you know, there were so many times that, you know, I used to be inhibited because my parents wouldn't be okay with me staying out late at night because of the safety concerns and all. I pushed them and I pushed myself to just, you know, make something bigger, you know, make my life a little more meaningful. And that is what helped me in my job interview at Google. And after that, 2.5 years of working at Google as an account strategist made me realize that desk job was not meant for me. So I wanted to do something more with my life. And I always had inclinations of, singing and acting. And I was always, very attracted towards the glamour industry. And I did not have any idea what I wanted to do in that space. So very randomly, I decided to apply for Miss India in my second year of Google. And I was one of the top 10 finalists from Delhi, though I did not win. But sorry. It was a great experience, honestly, because it taught me so much. It taught me what it means to lose. And I believe when you lose in life is when you learn the most. So that failure was actually a stepping stone to success, because after taking part in Miss India, I realized that I wanted more from life, and a desk job is not for me. So that was the biggest learning for me. And a few months later, I applied to India's biggest reality show, Bigg Boss, which had opened up applications for regular people like you and I in the 10th season. So in the 10th season, half the population of the Bigg Boss house was celebrities, which it always had been, and the other half was going to be selected from, the audience, and they just had to send audition tapes and apply. So some friend just recommended that to me, and I sent a 3-minute video where I spoke about my life, my journey, and my experiences, and of course, all of the opportunities that I had grabbed along the way, which made my story very interesting and it made the Bigg Boss team want to know me better. And because of that, I applied and I got through, let's say, 5 to 6 rounds of auditions. And after that, before I knew it, I was a part of India's biggest reality show, the 10th season of Bigg Boss. And I went inside the house thinking that I'm going to be evicted within maybe a week or 2. But I came out of the house only after 91 days, that's 3 months. So it was a big decision for me, because I did not just have to decide to take part and expose myself and my life to a national audience, but I also had to decide to quit the job that was everyone else's dream, including my parents. So they were always so concerned about, what are you going to do? What if you don't perform well in the show? What if you get out evicted in 2 weeks? What are you going to do? I said that I don't know, but if I don't take this risk right now, I'm always going to regret it for the rest of my life. And I believe winners are not people who stay within the status quo. Winners are the risk takers. So I decided to take that risk. And 3 months later, my life had completely transformed. People knew who I was. All of a sudden, I went to the airport. Everyone knew me by my name, by my face. They wanted pictures with me. And for me, that was a transformation. That was the kind of life that I'd always envisioned, but I never imagined I would get it. It was only that risk and only the attitude of grabbing the right opportunity at the right time that led me to that point in life. And a few months later, my social media audience from 5,000, which was when I was in Google, had grown to 70,000. And within the next 6 months, from 70,000, it became 300,000. And 2 years later, today, I can proudly say that I have over 1 million people on different social media platforms that I create content for on a regular basis. So I did not really know where this line is going to lead me. I was never interested in acting, in Bollywood, in TV. I never knew that I was going to do something of that sort, but life led me in that direction. But I chose to take a different path altogether. So my journey had not ended at Bigg Boss. After Bigg Boss, I decided that social media is something that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy talking, I enjoy creating content, I enjoy sharing my life's experiences and my journey to the audience that is so interested in what I do on a daily basis. So I started creating content, and today I've worked with more than 100 national and international brands. I create content for them on a regular basis. That's my main source of living. I have a team now, one of them is sitting right in front, and there's another team that's based out of Bombay that manages my commercial deals. And I mean, this is the career of my dreams, and I could only do that by daring to dream big and taking risks and grabbing the opportunities. So yeah, that was my journey. Thank you so much for having me here, and all the best to the rest of the speakers. Thank you.
Hence proven, beauty you're born with, but brains you earn. You earned it, girl, with 1 million followers across your social media, everything. You're amazing. Wow. Thank you so much. If we can hear from Bindu Menon, a healthcare communications company the CEO of Point Blank Advertising. Over to you.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so before I start, I want to, I'm very happy to share the stage with a 15-year-old because I'm 50, I'll be 50 soon, and my daughter, she's 15. In next 2 days, I think her birthday is on 22nd of December. She turns 15, and it's amazing. You cut across generations, and the stories that we have to share have so much in common. When I heard her stand here and talk about what women can be, I'm very proud to say that there are many 15-year-olds today who are making a mark, who are able to express themselves. I for sure at 15 did not know what the world could be or what it had in store for me. I didn't know how to speak to an audience like this. I still am not sure what I would say to an audience like this. And here she is speaking with all that confidence. I'm very proud to say that my daughter is also somebody like her. She plays soccer for India under 17. She's part of the India under 17 soccer team. And really she showed us that anything is possible for women today. The choices that they make and what they can do and where they can go with it, those are something that we could never dream of, and today that is a reality. So let me come back to my own journey. I started in corporate India way back in 1995 as a management trainee in one of the big pharma companies, GSK. And I have always been a healthcare professional. I have always been in healthcare. And the vision I had was to work towards bettering health of people. And working in a company, I felt that I could not really go far. All I would do is probably help them sell more of drugs, and that's not what I wanted to do. And I said my strength was communication. My strength was the ideas I could really bring to the table and how I could influence people with those ideas. And I started a communications agency called Point Blank in the year 2001. Now, so I have been in the advertising and communications and healthcare profession for the past 2 decades, but this also has been a journey. The first 15 years of this journey has been as an agency, as an advertising agency, influencing doctors, influencing hospitals, influencing nurses, pharmacists, and even patients on making choices regarding health and how to actually help them when they have a disease. So if you really look at lifespan, I would think of lifespan as 2 distinct parts. If you look at it as a curve, the first part of the curve is all of us, we are in good health, and we call it the health span. And the second part of the curve is what we call as the disease span. So the first 15 years or more than that of my life has been spent in helping people with disease and saying how we can help them live better despite the condition. But I and some people who we were working with, together we felt that this is not enough. In a country like India, making people spend so much on healthcare is not doing good. And what is it that we could do really? We thought about that and we said that let us look at how we can help people remain healthy. Can we actually diminish the time spent in the disease area, and can we increase the time that people spend in good health? And when we really looked closely at this area, we saw that there is a lot of work being done in wellness. There, right from organic food to exercise, health, fitness, yoga, all of this. But when we really look closely at what is being done, we saw that most of these attempts were either at, number one, giving knowledge and information to people on how they can be healthy, and number 2, measurement and understanding where they are today. But if you really look at your own life, you will see that knowing about health does not necessarily translate to better health. We all know that having sugary, high carbohydrate food will make us obese, we'll have lifestyle disease, but that does not stop us from making those choices. The other part is, again, measuring. We don't need a measuring scale to know when we have gained weight, or, we really don't need all those. We don't need to know how many steps we have walked because we really know how active we have been during a particular day, So we really went deep into this, and we said that, is this the problem or is there something deeper? And we realized that this problem has to be tackled at the behavior level and not so much at the measurement level or knowledge transfer level. And we started working in the area of wellness, and we tackled the area of behavior change in health. So that is how the second part of my entrepreneurial journey started, and we started a company called Pepper Wellness, and the purpose of this company was to actually help put health in the hands of people. And having said that, we did that through building a behavior change program, looking at how health behavior can change. And we really zeroed in on three. It is a well-researched fact that we really used to build this model, and that model was really looking at healthcare change through three different aspects. The first one is, how to improve motivation. If you have to change your health and you have to avoid disease, you have to be, first thing you have to do is help people get motivated to change. The second thing is, how to help them, at a point in time. Say, for instance, there was lunch here. At that point of decision making, how do you actually help them make a choice? The trigger. What exactly is the trigger that makes them stay with that choice? And when these two come together, and the third thing that we really looked at is the ability. So when you really look at it, what I'm saying is that the first thing is motivation, the second thing is the ability of people to make that change, and the third thing is a trigger. So we built a platform that really brought together all these three things and said that let us give people a chance to use an interplay of all this to actually achieve behavior change in health. And I'm very happy to say that the first target audience that we selected for this are women. And the reason for that is also, like someone here said, that there are women leaders in every house. So if we have to make great changes in health, we said that if we were to go to women with this and we help them make a change, then they as influencers could really bring about a real big change. They could amplify what we are trying to do with each and every individual. So we decided to do this one person at a time, one woman at a time. We went to corporates, we talked to almost 200 or 300 women. We understood from them what are the barriers that really stand in the way of their healthcare. And we built a program that helped them understand their today's health and what are the changes that they need to make and how we can influence them through making tiny habits. So those tiny habits are what really help them make behavior change. So let me give an example. If you want to lose, say, 5 kilos, the conventional program, when you go to any fitness coach or you go anywhere, what you're told is that you have to go on an exercise program, you have to change your diet, and when you look at it and you are not somebody who runs a marathon or you're not into exercising and you say, oh my God, how am I ever going to how am I ever going to really achieve this? So we broke it down and we said that, can you really make a change where you walk the first 200 meters? Can you really make a change where you can do exercise for 10 minutes? Can you really cut down a sugar in your cup of tea every day? And we really measured that when you really make these tiny changes in your life and you measure that, you are able to make that sustainable. You feel that you can do it, and staying with that and progressively increasing the goals will help you really achieve what you really want to. And I have personally seen people whom we have helped achieve this. They have been people who have tried various diets, who have done various things, who have achieved success on and off, and it has been, a lot of ups and downs. We have helped them have sustainable health change happening because we introduced this tiny habits format with them, and through that they were able to make a sustained change. I have seen women who have lost 15 kilos and who have stayed on that by starting with losing 200 grams. And I'm not joking here, 200 grams. They started with 200 grams and progressively they felt that, oh, this is what I just did this and I got this. Let me walk for 10 minutes and then let me do this, let me cut off sugar. And progressively they were able to, and the best part is they were very happy doing this. They really felt that they could stay on this program and they could make a change. And that is what we are trying to do with this entire program. I really want to say that in corporates today, there is a movement. I think there is an HR colleague here who can talk more about it. There is a movement towards bringing healthcare into corporates, into bringing wellness into corporates. And while this is being done, we find that when we closely talk to women, the barriers that they are facing are quite different. And this cookie cutter approach or one size fits all approach will not work. And it is looking at individuals and how we can help individuals bring about that change is what will sustain programs like this. And I hope that women, by taking up such initiatives, they first of all realizing that doing such things can make a change personally for them and overall help in making health a matter of high priority or one of the core values of society, and also, probably diminish the chances of India being a diabetes capital or a cancer capital. Or we don't want our name to feature quite high in such lists. We would rather have a healthy, humane and a very thriving, healthy women section of the society leading the rest of them towards better health. And that is the work we do. And I'm very proud to say that this shift from advertising into being a health advocate has been very satisfying as personally. And also I hope that more people will join this and help us make this a better, more healthier India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bindu. You have encapsulated in your journey the theme of our conference, because we actually weaved a whole weekend around this theme. We said we need to transform leadership. How do we do that? We do that by introducing or, unraveling, talking about it, corporate wellness and well-being. So thank you so much for helping us bust myths around that and really putting women in the forefront of your healthcare research and the work that you're doing. So it was a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're speaking to yet another young leader. Where is she? Are you nervous? Yeah, I know. We were speaking at lunch and she said, wow, I'm so enamored to be in a world of the adults and and also I'm happy to not be at school. This lady here, come closer. She is passionate about restoring native biodiversity in urban environments. The work she's doing is truly inspirational, and it makes me so proud to have you stand here with us and amongst us. Thank you for leading the way and showing the way. You're incredible.
Wow, that's a lot of people, but okay. I would like to start by thanking Dr. Harbeen for giving me this opportunity to stand over here and to share my cause, and for everyone else who's spoken before me, because hearing you guys has been truly inspiring and has given me actually a lot more confidence in myself to see people talk before me. So my name is Adya Joshi. I'm a high school student, and I'm the founder of The Right Green. It's an initiative to spread awareness on the vital ecological importance of native plants and to spur action by planting native. So today, around the world, we are rapidly losing our biodiversity. And just within this year, 2019, we've lost 125,000 species. They've gone extinct. And foreign plant species like bougainvilleas from South America or gulmohars, which are from Madagascar, and rain trees from Costa Rica have been brought in during the colonial era, and they've been degrading our ecosystems, and they've been taking away habitats from our native biodiversity, And because of that declining ecosystems, we have problems like pollution and insect pests, and pollution is obviously a huge problem in Delhi right now. And all these problems are being spread because of this loss and decline in ecosystems. So the big question for me, which I really wanted to answer, was why is this happening? Why are we on this course? And so I found that there are two main reasons for biodiversity decline. The first is that we've obviously had a loss of habitat. Our cities all around the world, and especially in India, are growing really rapidly, and we're replacing natural habitats with human habitats. India has an extremely high population density. We're about 460 people per square kilometer, and that means that land in large parts of this country are under human occupation. They've become people's homes, schools, factories, farms, and roads. The second reason for biodiversity decline is that in these human-occupied lands, we are at many times inadvertently planting the wrong type of trees. How many people really check to see if their gardens are native, exotic, or invasive? This lack of awareness is causing a growth in foreign plants and causing a decline in our local ecosystems. And so fortunately, there is a very simple way to remedy this problem. It's kind of obvious, but you should plant native trees. But unfortunately, not a lot of people know about this or know that this is a problem. So in 2018, I founded the Right Green to spread awareness on planting native trees and their roles in ecosystems. So one of the first tasks that I had was to compile a database of the native plants across the country, because what's native in Mumbai might not be native in Delhi or in Calcutta or in Chennai. And so I was able to assimilate about 2,000 native plant species across the subcontinent. And then the next task for me was to see how much biodiversity do these plants actually support. So one of the really important links in ecology that supports biodiversity is the link between the plants, insects, and birds. Most plants have specialized relationships with insects, causing the insects to only eat a certain type of the plant. These insects are in turn food for a lot of our birds, and baby birds especially. So if these native plants are gone, then we have no insects, and birds are disappearing as well. So in our database, we were able to collect around 15,000 entries of plant-insect feeding relationships. And using these relationships, we were able to derive a biopower index, which ranks native plants according to the amount of biodiversity that they support. And so if you're planting a garden in your school or your house or a factory or anywhere, you could now have a list of plants that are not just helpful to your local biodiversity, but also support the largest amount. So having gotten here, the next challenge for me was to spread awareness among schools and gardeners and municipal authorities and others. For this, I created a field guide of the native plants of Mumbai and of the surrounding districts in Maharashtra, which contained information on the local native and the common non-native plants that were planted as well, and their biopower index. And I've also conducted a number of workshops with schools and with community members to spread awareness and to encourage people to plant native. So the next time you or someone you know is planting a garden, I request you to please be conscious of the choices that you're making. You have the power to create a lasting impact on the environment and bring back thousands of species. And also, if you want to check out the website, therightgreen.org, or our Facebook for more information, and please do. And thank you once again for this support, and plant native.
Adya, I have a question for you. Where does one enroll to join the Adya Joshi school?
There is no such school.
There needs to be.
Ask my mother. She raised me.
Yeah. I'm enrolling in that school whenever you started. As our last lovely speaker for this panel, I invite Pratibha Mahindru. Welcoming Pratibha, the CEO of Refract Consulting Private Limited. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I have a bad throat, and I've been suffering from cold, so that's just the Delhi cold working on me. So bear with me if I don't sound as good as I usually do. And I know it's the first time that you're listening to me, so don't form any impressions. Okay, so ladies, before I talk about myself, I want to have a big round of applause for all the leaders who have been able to come out of the four walls and are sitting right here in front of me, right next to me here. The teenagers, they are completely astounding. So a big round of applause. Okay, so I am Pratibha Mahendru, and this is the first time that I'm participating in this forum. And pardon me for my oblivion that I never knew something like this existed. And I'm really honored and privileged to be on this platform and talking about myself, my journey, and also about my organization, Refract Consulting. So there was a talk going on about being big, bad, and bold. So, you know, if in short, I were to sum up myself, I think I am all three of them. So how is what the question is. So I've been big when I became a mother. I almost grew twice my size, and that's all that I could do, you know, when I say I have been big. No, so jokes apart, I've been big in terms of my achievements. I've been big in terms of being a solid academic performer, of being a solid professional performer. I have worked with the leading organizations. I've been a technology consultant for more than a decade now. I worked with firms like Gartner. I worked with firms like Fiserv, all of them leading names in their industry. So yes, I've been big. Why do I say that I've been bad? I think that's the most exciting part. Well, I've been bad when I decided to put an end to a failing relationship. I've been bad when I decided to walk out of my marriage. So yes, for a lot of people, I've been bad. But yes, that decision truly turned around my life, truly turned around the direction of my life and where I stand today. Thank you so much. And yes, last but not the least, I've been bold. Because despite all the changes, all the turmoils that I've been through, I stood strong on my feet. And that's what leaders do. They stand strong on their feet. They have a very clear vision. They never lose focus. I did it when I founded my company, which is Refract Consulting. We are a management research and advisory organization, and it is also the breeding ground for next generation of women leaders. I strongly boast of 60% of my workforce being women. And you won't believe, most of them are young mothers. They have children to take care of. They find it very difficult to come out and work. But it doesn't really matter where they work from. It doesn't matter. We are in the digital arena. It is just so important to keep delivering and keep believing in what you want to do. And that's what the women in my team do. They deliver quality, they deliver perfection, and they do, you know, their best at maintaining a work-life balance. That's what all of us here are really excellent at. Okay, so that's about my organization. That's about me. And because I'm a management consultant, I also got a pen drive. And while I know that, you know, it is not a protocol to really pull up presentations, but I really want you to look at one slide, which is going to be interesting. No? All right, okay. So I don't think I have the approval to really show that slide to you. But what that slide really spoke about was the 6 stages in the life of a woman and the 6 stages where women keep dropping out before they reach the leadership. And when I say leadership, I'm referring to being the CEOs or being the owners or being the directors of their respective companies. So for the remaining, at each level, there are 100 million of women. So in India, we have 600 million women. And at each level, we keep on losing 100 women. So we really need to work towards creating an environment which really brings down this attrition and this dropout rate. And each of us here who's sitting in this room is a leader and can contribute to this attrition in volumes that you can't imagine. So I would just like to urge all you beautiful ladies here to keep contributing so that we continue to have more women leadership in an organization and across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was the most exquisitely enriching journey that you all took us on. Dr. Harbeen, I invite you to please felicitate these most deserving ladies. I invite Anahita Goenka to please accept this honor as the Woman of the Decade in Innovation and Leadership. It's an honor to bestow this honor to you at the Women Economic Forum 2019. Calling on Sam Cook to accept this honor as we recognize you as an exceptional woman of excellence. Karuna Ahuja, please accept this honor as an exceptional woman of excellence. Inviting Nithiba Kaur. You are indeed an iconic woman, creating a better world for all. Calling upon Bindu Menon. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for this exceptional woman of excellence. Adya Joshi, we recognize you and salute you for being a young leader, creating a better world for all. Pratibha Mahindru, please accept this honor as an iconic woman, creating a better world for all at the Women Economic Forum in Gurugram 2019. Ladies, please step up to the front so we can capture this moment. Yes, coming up. Yes, coming up.